Hello, you guys, welcome to my channel, All Things Militia, where I discuss a lot about what's going on in the political world, but also topics that pertain to everyday life in general. If you are subscribed to my channel, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate you guys. If you see a video that you like, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button for your girl. Leave a comment down below because I'd like to get your thoughts on the topics I'm discussing. Share the video, and if you're new to my channel and any of my topics of discussion interest you, you can do all of those things, and don't forget to subscribe. So you guys, coming on here real quick to share my thoughts on a political event that took place this week. And let me just say this, when it comes to politics, I know it's a very touchy subject, and we're not always going to agree on everything, and it's all good. Okay, we can always respectfully agree to disagree. I know there are people that come from different backgrounds, different religious beliefs, different lifestyles. So it's going to be inevitable that we have disagreements. And I say that because being a black woman, I get a lot of backlash from other black women and men, specifically when I have to speak out against like-colored people. Like we had the Democrat primary this week, where you had Jasmine Crockett, a black woman that's been representing the Democrat Party. She's been put up in the forefront, and she's been given a lot of media attention over the past several months. But her approach has been very stereotypical of the left-wing media as far as black women are concerned. Loud, uncouth, disrespectful. And so that was my main criticism of her. She reportedly has almost $1 million education. And that's not figuratively, that's literally. Her education costs reportedly $1 million. And she's taken all of those classes, but yet gets on television classless. And so it was, to me, that's like my main, critique of her, because for you to be an educated woman, but then fall into the trap of being stereotypical black woman that the left-wing media likes to put us in. It's like they only promote ratchet, they only promote over-sexualized, loud, uncouth. Like you have the Cardi B's, you have the Megan Thee Stallions, you have the Kamala Harrises, and you have the Jasmine Crockett's. And they put these type out in the forefront as our representatives. And, people are beginning to see through all of this. Okay, there's no way that you should be that educated and choose to put this act on of being ghetto and being hood and street when you're not from the hood and you're not from the street. You're not even from the state of Texas. So I'm just going to play a clip real quick of Stephen A. Smith pretty much saying what I just said regarding a critique of her. Check this clip out.
Simple. You're in the state of Texas, and James Tellerico wasn't nearly as well known as she was. He did not have the national profile that she had. Certainly her politics and his politics were pretty much aligned on everything from tariffs to immigration, so on and so forth. Taxing the rich, of course, that's always something that folks on the left will say, no doubt about it. But in the end, it came down to elements of style. Styles make fights. And her style, marketing herself as somebody that would challenge Trump at every turn and battle up against the quote-unquote establishment or a person who thinks he is a king. That's entirely different than Tellerico's message, which was to isolate and focus on Ken Paxton and how he believes that guy is going to be the GOP nominee for the Senate seat in Texas.
Stephen A. said it came down to approach, and her approach was to bash President Trump, Republicans, and anyone that was in support of him. And you're in a state that is a red state, predominantly, okay? And a state that Trump won, and you're going against him, and at every corner you're anti-Trump, like pretty much what the Democrat Party is. And it's like, this is the very definition of insanity, to continue to do the same thing over and over and expect a different result. You cannot win going against the will of we the people. We the people voted for President Trump. He won in a landslide, despite all of the negative bought and paid for liberal media coverage that he got, despite his home being raided, despite the bogus cases that were thrown at him, despite his name being taken off of a ballot, I think in Maine, despite him being taken off of social media while he was a sitting president, despite all the assassination attempts on this man's life. Mind you, he was a billionaire before he entered into office, and he's a president not taking a presidential salary. So a lot of people want to say, oh, he's making millions off of this, he's doing this. Trump was already a made man, okay? He was already a billionaire before he got into politics, unlike a lot of politicians who become rich after serving themselves when they're supposed to be serving we the people. And so you're going against him and you're bashing him at every corner. It was just not a good look, okay? When you have this man who won in a landslide, this was by the will of the people, not someone that was just put up there and installed. So yeah, she really set herself up for that. But let's see what President Trump's thoughts were regarding Jasmine Crockett.
Jasmine Crockett recently.
Jasmine Crockett. Remember when I said, is she a relation to the late great Davy Crockett? I don't think so. Jasmine Crockett, let me tell you, before you even ask, she's a very low IQ person. I mean, if we ever had to pass an aptitude test, that's the one should take one because she shouldn't even be in the class. So I have no idea what you're going to, but I don't think we should waste our time. This is a low IQ person who I can't even believe is a congressperson, between her and Ilhan Omar and...
Now, many black people may take offense to that and they try to call it like a racist statement, but it's a very true statement. You have to be low IQ to go against a president in a state that he won, a president that won in a landslide. And this is your whole method to just go after him and oppose everything he does. It's not smart at all. Okay. And so they allow her, like I said, to put herself out there in the forefront like that. It was never about, let's try to see if we can come to some form of common ground, a nonpartisan type of, agreement. It was just anything that this man says we're against, we're opposed to, and this is the man that the people elected. So very low IQ, nothing to do with race, all facts. So check this. Let's continue on.
Said that maybe he'd like to take her back, and he didn't want her. He said, "I don't want her." Okay, what else? Go ahead. Let's hear what Crockett said. Go ahead.
She compared ICE raids to slave patrol. I want to ask you.
To slave?
To slave patrol. I want to ask you if you think that there should be consequences for members of Congress who make these types of comparisons or use this type of language.
Well, I think she's gone over the line, and I think a lot of the people. Look, the Democrats have become radical left lunatics. They have policies that nobody's going to buy. And, I see what's going on in New York. We're going to have perhaps a communist mayor because it's split up. If the people would get together and have one candidate, they'd have, I think, a pretty good chance. But it looks like maybe they're not going to do that. But we're going to end up with a communist mayor. It's not even believable, my beautiful New York. When I left New York to become president, it was a great place. But it was the beginning of bad things because we had de Blasio had just started as mayor, and I said, this guy's a real nut job. Went to Harvard to teach management. Can you believe it? He went to Harvard to teach city management along with the mayor of Chicago, who went to Harvard to teach. The two of them are teaching how to manage a city manage it into hell is what they do. But that was the...
The reporter practically just said that Jasmine Crockett likened ICE officers to slave catchers. And I think I did a video on that because it was just so ridiculous. Okay, first of all, the law in this country is that you have to come in legally. There are many people that spend years doing it the right way, spend money, okay, to try to come into the country legally. So when you leave the border wide open, like the former corrupt senile president did his entire term, and you allow all of these people to come in, you can't have all these people coming in going straight to welfare benefits and healthcare benefits at the expense of the taxpayer. It's going to collapse the system. Okay, it's people here that can't even hardly get their teeth cleaned, but you have people coming in illegally and they're able to go and get Medicaid and Medicare and go to the doctor and for free. I had a conversation with a person that is from a different country that told me that they had to go to the doctor for an injury and that they were only seen for a few minutes by the doctor. Pretty much the doctor didn't tell them anything, and they spent $400. And they asked me, they said, how is it that, all of these people can go to the doctor? Isn't it expensive? I mean, why they go to the doctor for little things like Tylenol and stuff like that? Isn't it expensive? And I said they can do it because they're not paying for it. When you on Medicaid, you get a headache, why not go to the doctor if you can save money and get it for free? So it's you can't have a system that's set up that way where you can have all of these people come into the system like that. Millions of people come in and they go straight to the benefit. Why you think these people want to come over here? Because they can get free stuff. But it's unfair to the hardworking, tax-paying citizens. And I will never forget, this person told me pretty much what I was told years ago by someone. He said, well, you either need to be rich or you need to be poor. You don't need to be in between. And I will never forget, a lady told me this years ago. She said, you either want to be rich or poor, but you don't want to be in between. Because we, the citizens that work and pay the taxes, are the ones being squeezed. And that's the reason why they pretty much have it set up that way. But yeah, with Jasmine Crockett, with our presidents, like he stated, very low IQ. ICE agents, slave catchers, literally, woman, these are people that are supposed to do their job, which is to impose the law, which means that if you're here illegally, you need to be out of here. And when President Obama used ICE, there was no complaints. When President Clinton used ICE, there were no complaints. But all of a sudden, when President Trump implements the law, there's a problem. Like everything Trump does is a problem. And it's pretty much things that have already been done by other presidents. But for some reason with him, everything has to be a problem. And people are seeing straight through the BS. I mean, we do have a thing called video where you can go back and watch hypocritical politicians that were once in favor of the things that Trump is now doing, now all of a sudden opposed to it. So at any rate, you guys, let's just see a little bit of Jasmine's approach.
Of what waste, fraud, and abuse looks like, because the only reason we're having this hearing is because somebody got their feelings hurt in a debate. And I don't understand why we're wasting taxpayer dollars. Next time, tell your big boy to show up and be ready to handle the woman in the room who hopefully will become the next president of the United States. Nevertheless, while we do have two amazing authors from Project 2025, which it seems like everybody got the memo. Like, yes, I'm going to double down and say it's my thing, but I'm going to make sure I also say that it ain't our homeboys thing, because we know that it doesn't poll very well with the American people, because the American people are woke enough to recognize that there is nothing good in it for them. And the final thing that I will say is that this election, I didn't ask you a question. The final thing that I will say is that this election is the best example of why y'all are so afraid of diversity, equity, and inclusion, because then you can't have a simple-minded, underqualified white man somehow end up ascending. Instead, you've got to pay attention to the qualified black woman that is on the other.
I need some Tylenol. Oh, jeez, my head is hurting. And that's pretty much all you got from her. Loud, uncouth, bashing Trump. Had the nerve to say that people would have a problem with black women. And they ran that with Kamala Harris, who she was saying would hopefully be the president, but lost in a landslide, thank God. Democrats didn't even hold a primary for Kamala Harris. And what's even more interesting is that she ran against Joe Biden back in 2020, but she was like one of the first candidates out. And then they turned around and chose her after doing that same run. She called out Biden for being racist. Then he turned around and chose her for his VP. She was also put over the border, and we saw what happened with that. That's the reason why we have this mess now with ICE, because of the former administration that, in my opinion, was installed. Okay, it was just a lot of mess, you guys. So she talked about, race. I always, like the Democrats, love to make stuff about race. And like I've said before, this party was the party behind slavery. This party was the party behind Jim Crow, the KKK, the 3-strike rule, where African-American men were mass incarcerated. They've been behind a lot of anti-Black policies, but at the same time, they love to make everything about race and call other people racist. It's like very, very demonic, in my opinion, because it's like the devil trying to make himself like Christ, while at the same time putting out demonic policies. It was just crazy. You're not pro-life. You're about changing the creation of God. Let men turn into women, women turn into men, little children decide their gender at 5 and 6 years old. Okay, it was just a lot of crazy things that the left, that the left was taking on. Like President Trump said, they have become too radical. You're too far removed. Number one, from God. How are you going to make God out of a lie when he said he created male and female? Okay, there's 2 genders. But now you want to come out with he, she, and are you male, or you female, or are you other? Like, come on, this ain't complicated. God's word is just as simple as it can get. Okay, it's not complicated at all. And you can't make him out of a lie. And for those that like to say, oh, don't judge people. You can't judge people. You're not perfect. Baby, I'm not judging nobody. I know I'm not perfect. But God's word is going to judge us all. That's who's the judger, God's word. And by his word, not our word, but by his word, there are certain standards that he has. And when you get away from those standards, you have a society that we have come to know. A lot of confusion, a lot of weirdness, a lot of backwardness, a lot of chaos for the most part. So yeah, she talked about Project 2025, where the media started running that right before the election, trying to say that Trump was racist and he's going to try to take us back to slavery. When you had President Joe Biden literally on video saying how he was going to put us back in chains. They're going to put y'all back in chains. One of the quotes that he made. Okay, so, and it was a known racist, was against against integration. Okay, was on record saying if we didn't vote for him, we weren't Black. But they didn't want to address any of the statements that were made by their side. They wanted to put everything off on Trump. And he denounced racism. He denounced the KKK. He denounced all of that. But they didn't want to show any of that in the media. Just like on January the 6th, where they want to claim was likened to 911. See, this is how you know these people are throwed. They wanted to compare January 6th, where you had a few people break in some windows, take some selfies in the Capitol building, and they wanted to compare that to 911, where planes were flown into the trade centers and people were literally jumping from a 100-story building. Like you trying to run it, thinking if we just keep telling this lie enough, we'll get people to believe it. We show this side of it. We'll come and show them this angle and make it seem like it was so dramatic and it was so much going on this day. But President Trump had asked for security leading up to that day, and it was denied. And when he first announced that he was going to have the protest on January 6th, I immediately said this is a bad idea, because this is right after they had, in my opinion, stole the election from him. So I knew this is going to give them time to try to stage something even more so, to try to use their bought and paid for liberal media to put this up. He's trying to overthrow the government. How can you overthrow a government that has the most arms with a cell phone and walking around with some flags? And he's on record telling his supporters to peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard. But they didn't want to put none of that in the media. If you're about overthrowing something peaceful, it's going to be the last word that you use. And so it was just a lot of deception, a lot of like BS, you guys. Talking about the 25th Amendment, or 25th Project, I said 25th Amendment, Project 2025, when we had learned about Agenda 2030 before Project 2025, which was Agenda 2030, was pretty much them trying to make us bring us under a one world government where we all would be on welfare. And if you look at how things were going under Biden, that's pretty much where we're headed. Everybody was going to be living in the projects for the most part, making us energy dependent, leaving the border wide open. They were literally trying to collapse the system and trying to change everything that was normal into the opposite. So it was a lot. And then she made as always, made it about race. You don't want to have a black woman. You'd rather have a white male. We don't care about your color. We care about your competency and your character. Like I said, they love to run this race card. You had Al Green at the State of the Union speech with his little card up, blacks are not apes, because of the social media post that President Trump reposted with images of politicians' faces on different animals in the safari. And they singled out Michelle and Barack Obama because their face was put on an ape. But you also had Joe Biden's face that was put on an ape as well, and they didn't really run that. But they love to keep that in the forefront. And the shit is so old, you guys. You keep running the same play every year, and it used to work. They'll get us all in our emotion. Oh, they're racist. Oh, we finna go out and we finna march. And then marching for what? Oh, we finna paint BLM on the basketball court. We finna have the athletes wearing headbands saying BLM and taking a moment in the knee and all of this stuff. All of this theatrical stuff, but your policies are against it. Your policies is what we need to look at. And their policies have been anti-black. But yet they love to put this out in the media. Oh, this person is a racist. Oh, we're Black Lives Matter. Oh, black people are qualified. Women are qualified. Who said that they weren't? You all are the ones that don't believe it according to your policies. That's why you're able to leave a border wide open and allow millions of people to come over here that come predominantly to black communities, and within a matter of a few years set up shop, have businesses on every corner, specifically in black areas, but won't give blacks the opportunity to do the same, or have redlined them and held them back. And then you have a president like President Trump, who got rid of redlining, which was discriminating against giving blacks business loans. And then you wonder why you go in our communities and every ethnic group, Indian, Arab, Korean, every ethnic group have a shop set up in areas that we predominantly live more than we do. And you don't think this was systematically done? And then when you have a president just trying to level out the playing field, all of a sudden because the media says he's a racist, that's what you want to go with. When you had rappers, when you had him in movies, he was so popular within the black community. You had the late now Jesse Jackson giving him, his flowers while he was living for helping the black community, the Rainbow Coalition. But the media didn't want to put any of that up because they love to keep this race, because we know we can get the blacks in their emotions. All we got to do is say somebody's a racist and we're going to get them in their emotion. And Trump is rash, he's brash, he's a New Yorker. That's how they, are described. They just shoot from the hip. They straight shooters. Give it to you. They ain't no typical politician that tries to act poised and put together at the same time, robbing you blind. He just tell you how he feel it right in your face, and you'd have to just take it or leave it. But they love to put this narrative out there, you guys, about race. But here we go, 40, 50, however many years later since the civil rights, and nothing has improved. All talk, no action. So yeah, that's my take on it, you guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Hope you have a great night. If you like the video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button for your girl, and I will see you later.